Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest for those of you who are new, and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. So today I have 13 customer quilts all done in the last week that I wanted to share with you. So I do have a little bit of update on my personal sewing, but I'm going to save that for a little bit later and talk about that when I'm showing you another quilt. So we are going to start right off today with Janie's quilt. Janie's quilt was brought to me by my aunt, and so I don't have particulars about Janie's quilt, but I think I've found some details that you might enjoy. The backing fabric as well as the border are Pat Sloan's line called Promise Me a Rose Garden, and Pat Sloan designs for Vortex. So I have linked that down below if you're interested in those large floral pieces. Those are very pretty. I'm not exactly sure about the center of the quilt, if that's also in that line, but you'll want to check that out for yourself. So I don't have particulars about the pattern, but in looking at this, to me, the shape of some of the blocks kind of reminded me of something I had seen by Bonnie Hunter of quiltville.com, if you're familiar with her. And so I did go on her website and find a pattern that was called Celtic Solstice. This is a digital pattern that you can download, but take a look at this quilt and then I'll explain the differences. So in the Celtic Solstice pattern of Bonnie Hunter's, you'll notice that the difference between this one and Janie's is that in the middle of Janie's blocks, it's just white background fabric. There is not the pieced block as is in the middle of the pattern put out by Bonnie Hunter. So, but I think if you take that middle part out, then I think this pattern is the same. Besides the borders, there is a pieced border in Bonnie Hunter's pattern, where Janie has just done a yardage as the border. But in looking at it, I think it's a pretty close quilt. So this gives the illusion of circles when it's not circles at all. It's done with Creative Grids ruler. If I can find more details before I publish this video, I will put them down below. So always go below the video under the More tab. You'll see just a brief description, just the very beginning of the description of the video, and then there'll be a little More tab. And you can click that More button and the whole thing drops down and it gives you information on all the patterns, all the fabrics, all the pantographs that I use that you see here today. So always check that out for reference. I do include links there. Some of them are affiliate links, some are not. If I have an affiliate link, that just means I get a little bit of money if you click on that link and use my link to purchase your pattern or your fabric. It doesn't charge you any more. You're going to pay the same whether you use the link or not. It's just a little bit of a help to me in doing these videos. But not every link is an affiliate. If I can't find it through my affiliates, then I certainly link it anyway, so that you can find those patterns easily. But that's the great resource to look at. The other resource that I have is my weekly newsletter, and it comes out every weekend. It's really a recap of what I show you here on YouTube. It does include some more pictures that you don't see here on YouTube. It includes all of the description, a little narrative about each quilt. I do include links there too that are very easy to click on and find the patterns and the fabrics if you're interested in that. It does give close-ups of the pantographs so you can see those as well. And then always at the end of my newsletter, I share things that are going on around here at the farmhouse. As you know, I have 7 children, and I now have 4 grandchildren with another one coming in October, and 2 daughters getting married this year. So it's a grand central station around here, just in the middle of the country. So we've got a lot going on, and I share all of that in my newsletter. It's not something I share too much, or even pictures here on YouTube, but all of that is in my newsletter. So if you're interested in details about the quilts and then some of our family life, you'll want to see that. We are under 2 weeks away from my second daughter's wedding, so it's getting very close. exciting times. So you'll want to check that out. But anyway, so I will link Bonnie Hunter's patterns down there, and that's how you can find it on YouTube. And that's, if you don't want to find it underneath this video, then you can subscribe to my newsletter. Either go to my website, tammyernestquilting.com, or there is a link down below to my website as well. And also there's a direct link for you to sign up for my newsletter. So lots of options, pick the best one for you, and we'll get you taken care of so you can make some of these beautiful quilts as well. So all of that to say, Bonnie Hunter's pattern that I use, that I believe is a very close resemblance to Janie's quilt, is linked down below. It does use a specialty ruler, I believe is a Creative Grids ruler, so that you can get those the one square blocks that are like a 3-part. It's a special angle. It's not a half square triangle, although there are some half square triangles in that quilt. But to get that curved effect in some of those blocks, she's doing that with a different ruler. So you want to get the pattern. If you like Janie's version, where it's a little more, a little calmer, I want to say, you know, where the middle is not a pieced part, it's just some fabric yardage, just a background print, then you can use that as well. But that's all linked down below. So the pantograph that we used on this one is called Adore, and I do adore this pantograph. I love this pantograph because it really adds a lot of interest in those negative spaces inside those blocks. So I really like how this one just shined in those on those white prints there. So Adore has a little bit of a swirl, and then you can see it has a semblance to a feather on the top of that, and I just love the way this stitched out. So pretty, really fun. And then all of those floral prints by Pat Sloan are really pretty too. So you'll want to check that one out if you enjoy those prints also. All right, so that quilt has already gone home, but I do have a stack of 12 more quilts here that were finished this week that I'd like to talk to you about. So let's look at Brenda's first quilt today. I have 3 quilts by Brenda this week. This first one is a 39 by 51 baby size quilt, young toddler quilt for that size. This is all done in whites and blues. You can notice some, what would I say, some transportation type fabrics here, really cute, along with just a lot of other teals and blues. So this transportation one has some monster trucks, some tractors, fire trucks, trains, ambulance, police cars, got a little bit of everything. This pattern is called Chandelier, and you can tell that by, doesn't it look like the dangly little baubles that come off of a chandelier that shimmer and shine? So it does come down the quilt. It looks like those chandeliers hanging down. It is done in squares that are set on point. So your block is right here. You can see these 3 prints of this same pattern, of the same fabric, and you can see these 3 prints of the same fabric, these 3. So that's how it's done. It is done in a block shape here. You have a central block here, a short rectangle on the top and bottom, if you want to say that, and then on the side it's a longer rectangle with a square of the same print as the middle, and then the same thing on the other side, just flip the other direction. So you're starting with 2 short rectangles for the top and bottom, and then adding these longer sides, and that's the way every block is done. You're just switching up your fabrics. There is a tutorial for this. Jordan Fabrics has a tutorial on this quilt. It may be called something a little different on Missouri Star YouTube channel. She does call it the Chandelier quilt. So, and I have linked that down below as well. So anytime you set a quilt on point, you are going to have setting triangles. These are a little tricky to figure out yourself. I think this is where a pattern is nice, especially looking at the tutorial, because this size of block, it's one of those I've not quite figured out. I've not done the math. I can figure out the math, but if you have a pattern, it's so much easier just to follow what they say. So it starts out as a large square piece, and then you're cutting it in half. And then when you lay out a quilt that is set on point, you're actually stitching rows that are in this direction. And by adding these triangle pieces on the ends, that's how you get the diagonal effect. And then when you join those rows together, and then that's how you get the rectangle. But you have to have these triangle pieces in the middle, and then also the triangle pieces on the edges. So you can see right here in this corner, you've got a smaller triangle. My experience in working with quilts set on point is usually this triangle block here, and it's a square cut in half, and then the triangle that goes on the corner is actually that same size block cut into fourths. So you might notice that on some of your patterns. That's been my experience. I've not done the math. Like I say, I'm not a pattern designer, but that's been my experience, is that your corner triangles are a fourth of the size of the larger square, and then your setting triangles are half the size. So this one should be fairly easy to go together. And then you can see Brenda has done a pieced border around the edge. This is really cute, just using the leftovers from all of the blocks. So she said the fabrics did come from Joann Fabrics, so you can go there, pick out your favorite blues. You could do this in pinks, you could do it in reds, any kind of color. You could do it in all primaries, or you could do it in a couple different colors. But this is meant for a boy, so she's done it all in blues. Really, really like that. The Pantograph, we were kind of choosing something that had the same construction, transportation type design. And I looked through a bunch of different vehicles and transportation. I was putting in cars and trucks, and I got a whole handful of ones that I kind of liked, sent them to Brenda. She had originally picked out this pantograph called Donut Connection that is by Longarm League, but she said if we found some other transportation pantograph, we might use that. So I looked through a bunch, sent them to her, but I said, you know, Brenda, I really just like this circle one. So Donut Connection, like I said, is done by the Longarm League. It is done in straight rows. It's a line and a circle, and a line and a circle, and a line and a circle. So it stitches out really easy. It does have some not backtracking, you're actually going over the stitch again. So you go in, you do the circle, then you'll do a half circle again to get to the other side of that, and then you do a line. You can do this freehand. Anytime you're doing circles freehand, it's good. You know, you come in, you go around, keep your motion, go around again, and then move on. So you can do that if your circles are connected. I did this a lot of time when I was doing hand-guided work and was doing purls, is what they would call them. So you would do your circle, go around halfway again, and then almost like a figure eight, you go right into that, then into the next circle. Then you would repeat that one on the top side, and then you go into the next circle, go around it once, and then you're repeating that one on the bottom side. The nice part about that is then your double stitching is on the top of one purl or circle. Your double stitching is on the bottom of the next one, and it gives you a fluid movement rather than doing a circle, trying to stop, doing another circle, trying to stop. You know, it's just the fluid motion of doing almost like a figure eight and then circling back over that. You know, a figure eight, circling back over that. This one is the same concept, except you just have this straight line in between, which you could do hand guided. I would probably need to do some ruler work to get that line absolutely straight. But with the pantograph, it's super easy. I did leave this at the size that it was when it pulled into the pantograph. So I would say you could put a ping pong ball in the middle of that circle and be able to see the entire circle. You wouldn't be able to put a tennis ball and see the circle, if that makes sense. So if that gives you kind of an idea on the size. Now, this quilt pattern does have a top to bottom feel, meaning you know, you're looking at this and you feel the movement of it going down the quilt. I could have done this pantograph I could have loaded it sideways so that movement was this direction, and then done the pantograph circles that direction, which then when you would have straightened it up, it would have looked like those circles were coming down. I mean, you would have to get in close because it's not the circles that are going down, it's the line in between. I did it where the lines were going horizontal and not coming vertical down the quilt. Why? So because I knew this was designed by Brenda for, I believe it's a grandson, I felt like if I had done the donut connection with the line running vertical, it would have been a very striking quilt. I think it would have been great if this was a wall hanging and you wanted that, you wanted the feel of that pantograph to be, the design of the quilt to really pop out and to really enhance that upward downward movement of the quilt. I think that's what that would have done if I would have set it that direction. Knowing this was meant for a young child, for a boy, I felt that this pantograph, I love the circles. It kind of mimics the wheels, the tires on the different construction or transportation vehicles. I like that it's not overly floral, a little simpler for a young child, more primary feel, you know, just a circular print. But by setting it on the horizontal where the feel of the quilt is vertical, it softened the quilt some. If I would have done it vertical, done the pantograph vertical, meaning the lines running in the same direction as the pattern, I feel like it would have been a very striking quilt, but it would not have had the feel of a younger child. I think it would have been beautiful for a wall hanging or some other purpose for the quilt. I would turn it the other direction and really enhance that feel of the pattern. But when it was meant for a child, I felt like it softened it. It gave it that, the circles really added to the whole feel of the construction, the transportation, the vehicle thing, without making it just a very bold quilt. It's not meant for that. So I would always, when you're picking pantographs or you're choosing pantograph designs with your Longarm quilter, or you're creating your own or doing hand guided, think about who the quilt is for. And that's one of the things I almost always ask a client is, who is this intended for? Because that gives me an idea of the feel of the quilt that they have. You know, I have one later today that when they wrote in, they said, you know, this is for an adult daughter. I don't want anything floral. I don't want anything. There was some other comment. But it gives me as much of an idea when you tell me what you don't like as it does when you tell me what you do like, and tell me who this is intended for. And that can really give me an idea of tweaking the pantograph, setting it the right direction, or using a different color, just to really make it special for that person. It's not just, you know, yes, I'm using digital, yes, I'm using a computer, but this is not, those are tools to help enhance the design, you know, or to do designs that I couldn't do freehand, but it's not a robot. It's not, I'm still a human running this, and I want to make these special. Each piece is special. The client has put time and money into fabrics and a design, and then into a pattern, and then sitting down and cutting and stitching. And I want the quilt design to be as important, as thought about, as intentional, I guess I want to say, as all of the other parts that the client has put in there. We make a great team, we work together well, and I want it to be what they want, what their intention is, and who the quilt is meant for. And that helps so much. So that's the reason, my reasoning behind why I set this going horizontal instead of following the direction of the quilt. I felt like it made it softer, more intentional for who it was meant for. The backing fabric is a white. It matches the same background fabric is on the front, and again, those are all Joann fabrics, and so you'll be able to find those easily in your local store there. All right, I have another quilt by Brenda. Brenda's second quilt is exactly the same pattern. This is again that chandelier pattern. This is a tutorial, so you don't even have to buy the pattern. Just go and watch the tutorial and get all the information you need there. So you already know about the pattern, but this time she has chosen floral prints. So daisies, a lot of it is daisy type looks. You have a Shasta daisy here, the white ones. You have an orange print with more of just a drawn daisy, where this is, they're both drawn, I don't mean that, but this one is more just a picturesque picture, you know, a representation, a drawing of it, where this seems more realistic. Then I like how she chose not all florals, but then this yellow is just you know, a yellow with a white grid on it, and then again another daisy print, but this is a different one from that. Like the blues, I like this middle print that has the yellows and the blues. She's done a nice job of picking coordinating fabrics without doing all one color. And a good trick to do that is to start with one piece that has, you know, so if you started with this piece that has the blues and it has the yellows, and then you can see some of the oranges from the butterfly there, and then choose your other fabrics to match some of those colors. So she chose a yellow, and then she chose another daisy print that had that same blue in it, and then she chose the backing fabric or background fabric that's the white, and then the orange matches a little bit more with the butterfly. So she really did a good job of pulling colors from one focal print and then using that throughout the rest of the quilt. So the pattern is exactly the same. The backing fabric is exactly the same. The same whites were used on this quilt as on the boy quilt also. But obviously, because we have different fabrics on this one, we wanted to choose a different pantograph. So this one is called Daisy Delight. I like this one. So this one is a 6-petaled flower, but the flowers come to points, or the petals come to points. And there are so many different floral designs out there, and really the difference is going to be how, I mean, you can have, why have so many florals? Because there are so many different options. So we did like Flower Child last week that was all, it was just loops in that floral pattern, and then it would go back out. Where this one, you're making a circle in the center. The Flower Child last week, there was no center circle. It was just the loops for the petals, and then the intersection of those loops kind of just gave you the hint of a center part. The center part wasn't even there. This time we're actually doing a circle and then coming out and doing pointed petals for all of those flowers, and then it weaves itself back out. It almost it gives just a tight little echo there, but that's really just to start the next petal on the next one. So I did load this one horizontally. This pantograph really looks the same either direction. You're really noticing the flowers. I can see where it traveled to the next flower, but the pantograph looks the same to, you know, whichever way it is. This one I loaded horizontally just because then I could get a longer pass before having to rotate the quilt. So if you do it, again, this one measured like a 39 by 51, the same as the boy one. So if it's a pantograph that I'm using, and if the backing fabric is oriented in a way that I can load it horizontally, then that's less times I have to rotate the quilt, line everything back up. It gives me a longer time between having to move the machine from right to left, or from right back to the left and start again. So anytime you can orient a quilt with the longer side, the longer way horizontal, it does need to be, make sure your pantograph is going in the direction that you want, but it can save you some time, save you a little bit of those turnings if you can orient it horizontally. Your longest part is what I mean. And this one worked fine for that one. So did use a white thread. I also used a white thread on the boy one that I showed just a minute ago. All the background fabric is white. The backing fabric is white. So white was the obvious choice for this one. All right. And I have Brenda's third quilt coming up next. Brenda's third quilt is log cabins, and she has used 2.5-inch jelly rolls. She said a lot of the pinks, I believe, were from her stash. A lot of the blacks were a jelly roll. There is a jelly roll called Black Tie, has a lot of these prints in it. Not all of these were from that one, but a significant portion of it. So she's done pink on one half of the log cabin and black on the other one. So her block is right here. You can see that one, or this one is right here. Log cabin is so versatile in that depending on which direction, I mean, every one of these blocks is created the same. The black is always on one side, the pink is always on the other. Depending on how you turn your blocks, when you lay it out, you get different patterns. So a couple weeks ago, we had the Hearts at Home pattern by Chelsea Stratton, and all of the, if you remember that one, all of the colored parts of the log cabin were in the bottom left, and then all the low volume prints were in the top right. This one, Brenda has oriented them different directions. So in the center of it, she has put all of the pink towards the center. And then on the outside ones, she's done the pinks towards this center, and then the blacks, so you can kind of see, and it's really neat when you do that, you get a whole different effect. You can do it where you can have the log cabins coming down in almost like a stair step type effect. There are so many variations, and you can change your quilt just by making the same blocks and turning them different directions. So I really like this choice. The pinks and the blacks are really, really pretty together. So you'll notice this first fuchsia pink border matches all of the center parts of the log cabin. So every center is that bright pink. And that's pretty traditional to have one center color in the middle. If you remember the Hearts at Home pattern by Chelsea Stratton, she did hearts in the middle of each one. And that's a really cute one. She's done one that's patriotic that has a star in the middle of each one. So a neat variation to the log cabin. But I like how Brenda has repeated that bright fuchsia into the first border. And then she has done a black border. And then she did this very lovely, I like this pink. It's a light pink background. It has some bright pink, almost reddish color flowers. And then it has the black paisley. Can you see that? And that was used in some of the prints, but then that is also on the back. So I love the hint of it in this, just very subtle, different spots. Because it's cut into a 2.5-inch strip, you're only seeing a little part of it, but then you turn it over and you get that whole paisley print on the back. So pretty. Really, really like that. So it says that the black back is from Missouri Star, and I will link that down below. I believe that is still part of that black tie fabric line. Very, very pretty. For the Pantograph, we chose Espresso, and I think you can see it here on the edge. I love Espresso. We talked about this one, I believe, last week as well. I just love the richness it adds to a quilt. It's just very just rich. I don't know. It's just classy. And so you just feel like this is a classy type of design there. You're repeating some of the paisley, some of the swirl into this. You can see some of the swirls. It does have that little bit of a paisley. It does echo itself there, and then the ribbons come out. They do come to a point. Your spirals come to a point, and then they cross over themselves to create that ribbon. You can really see it. Right there, right here, you can see how a loop, when you cross over, meaning when you instead of just doing a loop and then echoing it, just the whole thing around the outside, or even like a, say you're doing just a wave, okay? If you're doing this hand guided, if you're doing a wave, and then if you echo that back, right on top of it, you're just going to have like a snake type thing. But if you do a wave and then you cross, go under the wave on this side, above the wave on this side, below the wave on this side, above it, then you get that ribbon effect. It feels like the wave is flipping back over on itself. So try it. Try it on your hand guided. You'll love the effect it gives. So many things in hand guided is just tweaking the same movement just a tad bit. You know, whether you echo something, whether you have a spiral that comes to a point, or whether you have a spiral that's rounded, or how thick that line is, or how skinny that line is. You can create so many different designs just by changing that. And the more you look at digital pantographs, a lot of times that's the only difference. You'll have a pantograph that's very similar, and it's just how wide are the lines apart, or how close? Do they come into a point? Do they echo this same paisley design 2 or 3 times, like on the Adore one? That's really what that was at the top. You have that same paisley loop there, but you had it 3 or 4 times across the top of that spiral. So if you learn some of these basic movements, and if you're doing hand guided, don't be intimidated by digital. You know, I love digital because I can get so much done. But if you're doing hand guided, just learn some of the basic ones over and over and switch them up in your quilts, and you can have all your own designs and make many quilts that way. This is a cream color thread. I didn't want to do anything darker than that. Didn't want to use white. White was going to be too bright. The cream looks like white on a black print without being too bright. So this one measures 72 by 72 is the size of this quilt, so a square quilt. All right, let's move on to the next one. My next quilt comes from Joyce, and this is the second quilt that I've done for Joyce. You'll remember a couple weeks ago we did a blue and white one, and I told you at that time I had another one coming, and this is her second one. So this one is again called Process Flow. This comes from the book called Just 2 Charm Packs, and she's done this one all in greens with just a tad bit of blue added in here. And the green fabrics do come from charm packs called Green Fields. That's what it was. So this is done in rows, long vertical rows. Again, this has a very floral theme. A lot of the fabrics have flowers, or they have leaves, so a lot of those. So you'll see how it kind of gives that zipper effect going down the way it's alternating back and forth. So it's done, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieced rows, and then you have long strips of fabric running down, a couple borders on the 2 sides. And then look at this nice background fabric, or backing fabric that she chose. I like the contrast with lightening up the quilt, because the front, all the greens on there, and then going with the white on the back, but a lot of words. Make space in your life for love. This is a wedding gift. So I like that she chose this. Family makes this house a home, or some of the words on here. There are butterflies in here as well. Really like that choice for a backing fabric, because it really makes the quilt feel a lot lighter, and obviously the hints towards family and marriage and creating a home is really nice. So for the pantograph on this one, we chose Paisley Playtime. Again, repeating a lot of the same floral feel. This one has a paisley. It's going to be a little hard to see this one on the green, I guess. So it has a paisley loop that comes in, and then there's just some echoing big, not quite loops, kind of almost like half circles, semicircles that create almost like a cotton type ball is what you would think of. And then it just swirls back out. I did this one rather, quite large. The paisley part is bigger than my fist. And we did use a cream color thread on this one. The backing fabric does have a little more of a white feel, but with the front being the darker, a little more dimmer greens, I felt white would have been too bright on the back, or on the quilt top, and so that's why I wanted to go with the cream on the quilt top. And then in the backing fabric, it's fine. It kind of matches some of the butterfly color there, the little bit more of a creamy one, but I like this. Really nice. Really great. It's nice when you can do one pattern and use it repeatedly to make different quilts in different colorways. It makes piecing a quilt a lot faster if you don't have to read the directions every time. I mean, just, you know, kind of brush up on them a little bit so you're not messing something up. But there's something to be said. The more times you make one pattern, you do get quicker at it, and you know how it goes together, and you can just, you know, move through it and get your gift out and ready to go, especially for those of us who kind of wait to the last minute sometimes to get things together. Not Joyce, I'm talking about me. Me. So this one does measure 60 by 70, I believe was the size on this one. Yeah, 60 by 70. So it's a nice, this will be a nice couch type quilt for the new couple. So really nice. All right, let's move on to Somerville. So excited about this quilt. This is Sally's quilt, and Sally is a member of my Quilt Circle membership. This is a membership that I've had for just about a year now, and so we're an online, basically an online quilt guild. We find motivation, inspiration, and community with other quilters around the country, even some outside the US, which is really fun. But in 2024, in January, we started a quilt along. So this is our first quilt along for 2024. We're actually getting ready to start our second one here in July. But through a process of elimination and voting by the members, we voted on what quilt top we would like to create for our quilt along, and the members chose this pattern by Camille Roskelley. This is called Somerville. Now there is a whole line of these, four, one for each season, that are all medallion type quilts where you start with a center block and you're creating the quilt not in rows, not in block setting, but going out from that center. And then for the different ones, Somerville has almost this floral type border around the way you piece the blocks, almost gives it like flowers. And then different ones for the different seasons. Camille changes up some of they're all blocks like this, are all houses like this, but she changes up the borders, she changes up little pieces of it to be more of a winter quilt or more of a spring quilt. So this is Somerville, but the fun thing that has been in doing this as a quilt along with our Quilt Circle group is all the different fabrics that everybody chose. So Sally chose this, I like Sally's because she's done, she called it Twilight. Is it Twilight? Is that what she called it? She would always call it something in our Quilt Circle, and I can't quite remember. Dusk or Twilight, because by using this darker backing fabric, background fabric in her blocks, it has that effect that it's almost nighttime. And then she's done some bright yellows in some of the windows, so it feels like the lights are shining out from the houses. It's just so fun. You can see some of the yellow windows up there. So it's really fun. So let me find the name of this. Let me find the name of this fabric. This is called Wildberry. This is a Makower UK Fabrics. Makower. That is the distributor or the manufacturer of the fabrics. I didn't find this specific line, but you might do a search for yourself and see if you can find that. The backing fabric or background fabric that you see, she also used is on the back, and I'll show you that in just a minute. This is done in charcoal, and this is a cross weave by Moda. I like this. It's a cotton fabric, but it does have the look of a linen, and I like that. The more I work with linen, I'm not sold on the linen, but I like the look of linen, and so this one being a new option that has that same cross weaving look as a linen does, without having to having all of the components of a linen. If that makes sense. Okay, so Somerville is the name of the pattern. And then she has chosen those Makower UK fabrics, and I love this. I love this. The other thing that's been really fun in our Quilt Circle membership is a lot of people weren't exactly sold on the border, the pieced border, and It does look like flowers now that you put it together. You can kind of see how it kind of looks like a flower there. Some people weren't totally happy with that and changed it to whether it was just fabric border, the same fabric all the way around. Others did some really neat adaptations to that. I'm doing mine in even a little bit different than Sally's as well. And so I'm almost finished. I almost have mine together, and I started to bring my blocks today, and I thought, no, I'm going to wait until I get the whole thing together. So hopefully next week I'll have my quilt top together. I don't know about having it quilted, but I'll be able to show you mine because I did mine in totally different fabrics, and that's been really fun to see everybody's choice of fabrics. So this has been a super fun quilt along. So you have this large star in the middle. There are 4 smaller stars around each corner. You can see that, and even stars. That was a neat thing too, because a lot of members did different things with the stars, which is a lot of fun. And then you have the houses. Well, first you have around that you have these 9-patch blocks. You can see the 9-patch right there, and then it's got triangles on each corner to create that block, almost like each house has its own little patio out front, is what it makes me think of. And if you do different colors, then it almost looks like grass out in front or something like that. But then you have the houses. The houses were super fun to make. You can do them very scrappy, different color doors, different color windows and roofs and fronts, and then chimneys, where Sally has done all her chimneys in this brown print. There are 2 chimneys on every house. It's just been such a fun sew along. So on the backing fabric, she did use that same cross weave by Moda, and it is in charcoal. I really like that. For Pantograph, she chose Feather Meander, and I love this one too. So Feather Meander, I hope you can see it on there. So you have the backbone of a feather, and then you have the traditional feather parts of it where you have the loops. This one echoes around itself twice, and then it spins out and does some spirals, and then that spiral becomes a little bit of a backbone for another feather where it is echoed on itself a couple times, and then you have where it comes back out, and then it does the larger feathers again. So I love this Feather Meander. I love the way it all nests together. I do bring the rows in tight enough that you really have a hard time telling where one row is and another one starts, just because then it just gives that all over feel of the feather. We did a thread. The thread is a light gray. So with the charcoal background fabric, it is a grayish type of color. The gray, all of the fabrics in this are very muted. So even on the brighter yellow prints, they are still kind of a muted color. They're not a primary yellow, more of a golden yellow, a mustardy type of yellow. And so that gray, while it shows up, it's not too bright on those prints at all. And even on the white, it's not dimming it too much. I mean, the whole tone of the quilt is a little dimmer. It's twilight, the sun's going down. So the gray thread really worked well. The size of this quilt ends up being 70 by 70. So a nice size quilt too. I just love this. I love this. Every one of them has been so fun. So this is the first one I've quilted. Others in the group have their own long arms, so they are quilting their own. I do have another one that has come in, and plus mine to do, so I'm so excited. This has been so much fun. Our next quilt along is going to be a coriander quilts pattern, and not in a medallion type style like this. We're actually doing joy filled, which is different star blocks, and that one's going to be fun, and we're starting that one in July. All right, that is Sally's quilt, and let's move on to some more. I had 3 quilts by Bridget this week, and every one of them is just so fun. So this is, she actually had 3 seasons. So she has a fall one, a spring one, and a winter one. So this first one is the Fall Barn Quilt. This is by Tera Reed Designs, and this actually came as a kit for done by Riley Blake. If you can't find the kit anymore, then these panel pieces are available. These fabrics are available. You're able to get this all in pieces and to do it yourself. So really you have like a maple leaf design. You have a skinny little stem for that maple leaf. You have 4 of those, and by joining those together with some sashing in between and the same dark print here in the middle, then it creates that larger block. And she's made 5 of those, alternated with 4 of the barn prints. Those are printed on a panel, so you can cut those apart. This is the fall one. You have all the seasons of the barns as well, which is so fun. So you could make this same quilt 4 different times, use different, this one obviously uses a leaf, but you could do a different type of flower for the different seasons, maybe a snowflake block or something like that for the winter. And I'm sure there were kits put out for each one of them. I've not seen all the quilts or the kits for all of the different seasons. But, oh, you have my heart when you have a barn and a truck on it. I love these old barns. Each one is different. They all have a barn star flag on it. And notice even like this big white milking barn here, you've got that maple leaf barn star flag on there and different ones. They're just so pretty. Big red barn here on the front. Love, love, love it. Love it all. The backing fabric is some of the yardage from that fall barn. So you can get this as yardage. It's just so fun. She's done like a piece of the yardage in the middle, and then she's added extra whites around all the edges to make it large enough for the size of the quilt top, because the quilt top was larger than the piece of backing fabric there. So for the pantograph, Bridget chose diagonal plaid on the bias cut. Bias cut means that it's a little rounded on each corners. You can also get this diagonal, the diagonal plaid in pointy corners. I kind of like the bias cut better. I like the hint of that. Very similar to like the squared pantograph that I used last week on that Moda Modern Blocks one, where that one has the very squared off points, and this one is the rounded ones. So Bridget told me, she says, I like the texture. I like the pantograph small because I like the texture it creates, and absolutely I can do that for you. So this diagonal plaid is very small. These blocks, this stitching, this square right here is maybe 2 inches at the most. It's not very big at all. But especially a quilt like this that I'm assuming is going to be on the wall or something. I think the denser the pantograph, the more your quilt is going to hang better because it's more densely quilted. It's going to have more interest on a wall. Maybe you don't want it this tight if you're doing a throw quilt or something. It doesn't make it stiff. I know people are so afraid that it's going to make it stiff. I mean, yes, it's a little stiff, but the more you use this, it loosens up, and the use out of it is what makes it soft and pliable again. If you're wanting to use this as a wall hanging, then it's going to be hung up and it's not going to be used a lot, and it's going to stay a little more stiff. But I don't know, I kind of like that myself in the quilt, and so I don't have a problem with that. A lot of people ask about the batting on the inside, and let me just look real quick. She has used 80/20 in the middle of hers. That's what she requested. I do carry Quilter's Dream batting. I carry all cotton, and I carry 80/20. I do carry it in the Select loft, which is like the middle grade. There are lofts that are higher than that. There is one lower than that called Request, that it's a lot thinner one. I like this loft best of all, so those are the 2 that I carry. And so Bridget asked for the 80/20. The 80/20, you do have 80% cotton, 20% in polyester. Polyester may hang a little bit better, meaning you're not going to get creases and things when it's folded. If you want something that is not going to have any creases at all, you'll want to go with a full polyester thing. I think that's your only way of not getting any creases from folds, or just fold your quilts different ways continually. But again, the more you use them, if they're laying on the couch and things, you're not going to have creases. Those are going to be used a lot. It's really when they're just sitting for a long time, folded up in one direction is where you're going to get the crease. So, and a little bit of shrinkage with the 80-20. I like Quilter's Dream. I don't feel like it shrinks up terribly bad, even with their 100% cotton. You are going to get a little bit, so it has that older crinkly feel to it, a little less with the 80-20, but again, because it's 80% cotton, you're still going to have some of that. So Bridget's quilt measures 48 by 48, so a great little wall hanging, or just to be folded on the back of a rocking chair or something. It's just so pretty. I love it. All right, let me show you her spring quilt. So Bridget's spring themed quilt is one that she actually designed on her own. So I love this idea that she has done. So she has bunny rabbits and she has flowers. The flowers, you may notice, are one of the pressed flowers. This is the Delphinium block number 1. So pressed flowers was the quilt along from Fat Quarter Shop if you subscribe to their Sew Sampler box. And so she took one flower from that quilt along and repeated it in this quilt block, in this quilt. So she has one at the very top, 2 on either side, and then 1 at the bottom. I love what she's done with this is that she has fussy cut something for the middle of each one. So like on the orange flower, she's fussy cut some coordinating print that goes in the middle of that. Here the blue one, she's got a white print that coordinates with it. See the pink one, these are all different lines. So to me this one looks like probably a coriander or a fig tree pattern there. I'm not familiar with this one. This one looks like Love Struck. Is that what it looks like to me? Others may be from her fabric stash. This one, this green one down here, where she has fussy cut a yellow rose print and put in the middle of that one. So pretty. She's done a really cute job. Then the other blocks that she has used is this bunny rabbit, and this is from a pattern called Wild Hare. That is a Vanessa Gortson pattern, and it's a cute pattern in itself. All bunnies with different things in between them. I like how she's done all these bunnies in plaids. So she has a purple plaid bunny down here. She has a yellow plaid bunny on the other corner, almost like a limey yellowish color. The green and blue one, the pink and red one, a different yellow in that corner, and then an orange one up this one. It's so cute. They're tiny little eyes there. They're little cute little ears. This is such a cute design that she put together. And then the background fabric here is a pink. It has just the tiniest little specks of white in different spots. Just really cute. The backing fabric, she then chose a bunny print, bunnies with carrots in the bright purples. Really nice contrast to the front. It gives a lot of repeating the theme, but in a whole different fabric. I like that. And then for the pantograph, so she said, can you find me something springish? What'd she say here? Tulips, rabbits, carrots, something springtime. So I went on the hunt. I'm always up for new pantographs. I like doing new things. And so I found this one called Curling Tulips. And this is so cute. And again, because Bridget likes the tighter design, this is small. So not even the end of my fist is the circular shape here with the tulip. So the tulips, some point down, some point up. They swirl. So you have this swirl in, then you do the tulip, and then it swirls back out. Then the next one swirls down, and then the tulip faces up, and then it swirls back out, and you just continue doing that. So down and up and down and up all the way across the quilt. This one, I did load this direction, so knowing that the pantograph, that the tulips are up and down, if I would have loaded this one sideways, where, meaning the longer pass would have been sideways, but then the tulips would have been, I mean, it might have worked. They would have been going left and right then, if that makes sense. And if that's what you want, then that's perfectly fine. I did it with an up and down, just because that's the way the design was when I sent the picture to Bridget, and so that's what she's expecting, is to see that up and down. And again, it might have been fine to load it the other way and have the tulips left and right. That would be a good option too. Nothing wrong with that. We did use a pale pink thread in this one. Since all the background fabrics were that pink, the pale pink just really adds a lot of texture on top of that. Now you do know that I use pre-wound bobbins on the back because I'm using a pale pink on the top. I actually used a cream in the bobbin. It blends in really well. This backing fabric is very busy. You weren't going to see a lot of that. I mean, if you get in close, you can tell it's cream. But with this one, I didn't feel that I needed to wind my own bobbins to get that pink on the back. I didn't feel like it was necessary for the pink on the back, but obviously for the front, that's what she wanted. But just using that cream color, it worked really well with the pale pink and the front. So this quilt measures 37 by 46. So she did add just a little bit of sashing. Oh, this sashing is part of the blocks. Around the bunny and the flowers, and then there's a little bit of a border. But when you do it all in the same color background fabric, then it just feels like it's all part of the quilt. Really gives you, and it is part of the quilt, obviously, but it just extends the size of the quilt a little bit, but still your focus is on the design in the middle and not on a frame. I don't think this one needs a frame per se. You don't really need borders on this. You can make it bigger and do a border. This is very simple and delicate, and it looks great. It looks really nice. By adding a border that's the same color, then you're letting the middle of that just really shine and not drawing your attention to the outside at all. So cute. So Bridget's third quilt is a winter theme. So you may be familiar with this pattern. This is actually, if you watched my video the first of the year on the projects that I wanted to get done this year, this is one that I showed because I picked this up as a partially done quilt at my in-person guild that I'm a part of. We have an auction every year, and so we bring things that we're not going to work on anymore or don't want anymore. We've lost interest. We donate it to the guild, they do an auction, and then all the money goes into the guild. And so I had picked up this kit, and I'm super excited to work on this year. But this is Bridget's. And so this is a pattern by Adidas Sitar. This is called Winter Village. You can buy this one as a pattern. They do sell a pattern or a quilt kit to go with it. It doesn't look like it's pre-cut like the one I told you about last week, but it does have all the fabrics with it. The fabrics are called Blue Sky, and it does say on Adidas Sitar's website that as different blues come in and out of stock, they may switch up some of those blues for different ones as they're creating those quilt kits. So you might get a little bit different, but this is just so cute. I love all the different houses. So again, you know me, you know I love house quilts, and you know, the Somerville one was a house quilt, but it's all the houses are all the same. We've seen Lori Holt's hometown quilt where it's all different houses, and I love that. So I love different houses. The fun thing about this one, it's all pieced, so no applique. So if you like different houses but don't want to deal with the applique houses, you can do this one. It's all pieced. I love all the different windows, all the different sizes of houses, all the different roofs and chimneys. It just feels like it's city blocks here with all the different houses. It's so fun. So you'll notice in this winter one, there is also some applique, but Adidas Sitar sells this already pre-cut and ready to fuse onto your project. So you can buy that. I do believe this quilt takes 2 of the packages, and you'll have to check her website to be sure on that. But but it comes already cut, so you can just add it to your quilt top. Very fun. The backing fabric on this one is part of the Blue Sky fabric line. Love the hearts on this one. Has just a little bit of a vine connecting those hearts. It's very pretty. And some of that same print is used in some of the houses on the front. Because this one has a winter theme, Bridget asked for the Snow Winds Pantograph. And this one has 2 snowflakes on it. I'm not sure how easy this is going to be to see. See if I can find, because the fabrics are so busy and bright on the houses, it is a little hard to see the pantograph. So it has 2 snowflakes. There's a smaller snowflake, there's a larger snowflake. They do alternate in how that stitch out. There is some swirls, kind of give you the idea of wind blowing and that snow blowing around. This is a great pantograph for this winter quilt. Really nice, because you do have a few snowflakes in the in this applique part here, but not that the fabrics are overly winter. It's just the blue theme. I mean, even a lot of the prints have floral in them, but when you add on that applique that that gives it that winter feel, the snow in the pantograph is a great addition. So this one is done in a cream color thread. This all the background fabrics are a very creamy color, so the cream color thread was a perfect choice for this one. So a lot of fun. Really like this one. There is another kit, and I didn't write this down, of another season. I think it's summer, where the houses are all the same, the fabrics are brighter, and then she has changed up from snowflakes and bare branches. You can't see that. She's changed up from the snowflakes and the bare branches, that the applique on that one is more floral. And again, that can come, you can buy that straight from her, so it comes ready to apply to your quilt. So fun. This one ends up measuring 53 by 65, so a nice throw size quilt. I love the house quilts. Can't wait to work on this one. All right, let's move on to the next quilt. This is an incredible quilt. This is Tera's quilt. This is a legit kit called Vortex. And so if you're familiar with the legit kits, they are all foundation paper pieced, meaning you're starting with, I've not had one of the kits myself, but I've seen a lot of them where you're starting out with a foundation paper. You're laying your fabrics on top of those and stitching on the lines, and then you press those back, and then you add the next fabric and stitch on the line that it shows you. So that's how you can get these intricate details. This takes, I believe it's over 70 different Kona solids. So that's how you get the different shadings. If you've seen some of the other legit kits, you know, they have intricate details, and you can do that with foundation paper piecing and lots of fabrics. So I have linked the pattern down below. There is a fabric kit, I believe, as well, that you can get. And this is just incredible. I'm sure it takes some time to do these, but it is just an incredible, with all of the shading that goes on, and the feel of the quilt, and all of the bright colors. I just really love this. There is a black, a skinny black border around the outside edge of it. And then on the backing, Tera has used, this is called Raw Silk. Michael Miller puts this out, and this is done in black. It does feel silky. It almost has a little bit of a minky feel, but there's not the thick nap of a minky. So that softness like a minky, but it does say it's raw silk. This does come in a couple different color lines, so you'll want to check those out. And it just has a super feel. It did not you know, shred and have all the lint that comes off of a minky, so you might like that as an option. I don't you might like that as an option without all of the shredding that a minky has, but this doesn't have the thickness of a minky either. All right, for the pantograph. For this one, we chose one of Quilting Mill's pantographs called UFO. This one does stitch out horizontally in long lines. So this one was put on the long arm with the long way going across the quilt top. And so it looks more complicated than it is, because one of these lines, you're not matching up. You don't have to match up points at all. It's really a wave line, but it's creating this almost like a seed pod type design here. So it comes in, it goes back and creates that, and then comes and does the bottom one, and then it joins with the next one. Let me lay it out like this so that you can see it a little better. So it's stitching out this way, it's stitching out long ways, but it's really almost like a wave pattern, but it stitches part of the wave, then it goes back and does the wave that's in the middle, and then it comes back and does the bottom one, and then again it does the next little seed pod, if you want to say, goes back and does the middle part, and then does the top. And it continues on down the quilt like that. And so, like I said, it looks a lot more complicated than it is, because it's really just doing this one wave type thing at once, and then you bring it back. But it creates that secondary effect where you have this wave in there, but you're not, I mean, really, as long as you're making sure that your spacing is correct all the way along, it was a joy to stitch out. This one's called UFO, if I didn't mention that. That's what the pantograph is called. So for this one, I did use a so fine thread called celery. We talked about doing a variegated thread. I'm not a huge fan of variegated because it changes colors. You lose it on some parts, and then it's bright on other parts, and I'm just not a huge fan of that. I like this celery one. It's a green like celery. You can kind of see it on the black, but when you use it on these Kona solids especially, it takes on a little more gray color in some of them, so it's not too bright on these bright oranges or the yellows. It gives a little more of a gray tint. But then on the greens and the blues, even on the browns, it takes on a little more of a darker brownish, almost like an olive green color when it's on top of those. And then when you put it on the blues and the greens up there, it just blends and adds a lot of texture. And so I really like this thread, the color of it. I really like it on this type of a quilt. So the pantograph is called UFO. Love the way it's stitched out. This is my first time in using it. A Legit kit is the pattern for this one, so if you enjoy this, you're going to have to go check those out, because they have lots of different options. And like I said, this does have a fabric kit that goes with it, because there's over 70 different Kona solids that are used in this pattern, and you can check those out in the link below. It'll show you all of the colors that are needed for that. So pretty. This one measured 65 by 84, so this is a nice size quilt, but a lot of fun to work on. All right, let's move on to another one. Susan's quilt is the 2023 Riley Blake Block Challenge. Now, Riley Blake does a block challenge every year. The one for 2024 has just finished up. And what they do is all of their designers that design fabric for Riley Blake, each one creates a block for that year. And then they release, it starts in January, they release 2 or 3, it's 16 blocks total. So I think they do 2 or 3 blocks a month on a certain day of the week. I believe it's Tuesdays. And then the last week of the month is a catch-up week, and they do that through the end of May. So like I said, 2024 is just finished. This was the 2023 challenge. So these are all blocks. Each block is done by created by a different designer, designed by a different designer. And then obviously you're making the block. And then Susan said she did use the setting that was done by Amy Smart of Diary of a Quilter. So different designers will create different settings. So like for the 2023 one, Lori Holt did a setting, and hers was a table runner where she just joined all 16 blocks, 2 rows of 8, and created a table runner. Let me see, I think I printed out some of the other. Riley Blake did do a finish that they published, and theirs was more, they did some blocks in the top left corner and some blocks in the bottom right corner with a lot of negative space in between. That was their design setting, but I believe each designer then creates a setting for the quilt using all the different blocks. But like I said, Susan chose Amy Smart's layout. I really like this one. She did a really nice job. So each block is different. She used fabrics. Oh, you can still, I printed off some of these. You can still go back and print all of the blocks from 2023. You can go back and print the blocks from 2024. So you could make quilts with, do one of the blocks and repeat it and do it in a traditional, 3x4 setting or something like that. But all of these blocks you could create, or just pick the blocks that you like, or 2 or 3 blocks. I mean, you have so many different choices with this, but these are all PDFs, free downloads. You don't have to put in any information at all. You can just download it. These are the 2023 ones. 2024 ones are still up there. Like I said, they do it every year, runs from January through the end of May. All right, so let me see. She used fabric from her stash, so all different designers. I love the colors. So pretty. So reds and pinks. I mean, you've got everything, but I really like the colors of this one. All the blocks are so different. And then Susan has added, love these skinny little borders. I mean, this little blue border right here, it's probably a 1/2 inch finish. So I'm sure it was cut 1 inch. And this one may be an inch finished. So, it's even smaller. I really like the really tiny borders there. And then she's done a larger floral border, all the colors. So notice all of her blocks have these colors right here. And so again, a great way to coordinate a quilt. Pick one focal fabric that has all the colors in it that you want to use, and then pull fabrics from your stash or off the bolts at the store, wherever you're at, that have these colors in them, and you'll have a coordinating print that way, or coordinating quilt that way. The backing fabric is this beautiful minky. Love this. It's almost like a mustardy gold color. I will try to find out the specific color and link it down below. I think I found it, but I've asked Susan to clarify for me so that I can make sure I got that for you. Again, I love minky because it shows off the quilting. Maybe I'm biased in that respect, I don't know, but I love that it shows off the quilting. So you can see this one is the Knit 1 Purl 2 Pantograph, one of my favorite pantographs. It is kind of directional, meaning all of the design moves in one direction. So but I just love this. It's just loops, 4 loops, and then they're echoed again, then it moves on to the next one. I just love it. We did this one kind of tight, so maybe only 3-4 inches across here for the height of the Knit 1 Purl 2. Like the texture, like how it fills in some of the negative space in the blocks. I just love everything about this quilt. The thread is a white thread. The background fabrics are white. These are brighter prints, so the white's not going to dim them at all. They're really just going to shine right along with the colors. And then again, even using a white thread in the bobbin, a white pre-wound bobbin, minky soaks up those stitches. The pile is high enough that you just don't see the stitches. You would really have to dig in. I can't see them. You'd have to dig in there to see them. So the thread color really hides in there. You're just getting all texture across the back of the minky. I just love it. And that floral border is just the perfect finishing touch on that. So pretty. All right, let's move on. Oh, I love this one too. So this one, you could consider it a house quilt. It's called Rooftop Gardens, but the houses are tall and skinny, almost like row houses. I just love it. Called Rooftop Garden. You've got all the floral. And it's hard to see here. You're really going to have to look at the bigger pictures when it's laid out. But you've got all those flowers just coming right off the top of the houses, out of the roofs. I love it. I love it. I love the colors. So this pattern is created by the Gourmet Quilter. She is out of New Zealand. You're going to want to check out her website. I love this. I love her pattern here, and all of the fabrics are from her as well. So her name is Susan Mayfield, known as the Gourmet Quilter. And this is her pattern, and so pretty. So this part of the quilt is all pieced. All of your houses are pieced. The different flowers at the top, that is all applique. And actually, the roofs are appliqued on too. They wouldn't have to be. I mean, they could have been, you could have done them as you know, either half square triangles or like a large flying geese unit. But the way that she has done the pattern, at least what I'm seeing from the quilt top here, is that is a triangle piece that is appliqued onto the top. So by doing that, then you've got these long straight lines of quilt blocks, and then you've got the long straight lines of blue fabric, and then you're just appliquing everything else onto the blue fabric. It does appear to me that the roof was appliqued after the blue pieces were attached to the houses, if that makes sense. So all of the piecing was done first, and then the applique done on top of the blue piecing once it was all connected. So the flowers are fun. You've got, you know, all different kinds with the just really fun. Almost like batik type fabrics is the feel of the fabrics, the look of the fabrics, I want to say, even in the flowers. So this one measures 70 by 74. It's a nice size quilt. The backing fabric is a fun print. I need to look this one up. I haven't looked it up yet, but it's the flags, and each flag has something on it: resilience, truth, love, empathy, compassion, vulnerability. So a lot of fun, same colors as the front, and a lot of fun because you could kind of think of the flags flying from the houses as well. That's a neat backing fabric to put on there. So the pantograph, you can see, the pantograph is called Mini City of Fountains. This is put out by Julie Hurt. Julie Hurt has a website, but she also sells on Etsy. And so this one has a Baptist fan feel, in that it's that fan shape, but it's elongated vertically. So it gives it more of a rainbow feel, where Baptist fan is a little wider. I'd say it was wider than it is tall, where this one is taller than it is wide. So a little elongated up and down. So almost a rainbow type feel. She does call it fountains. I like this one. Again, this quilt is directional, meaning you're always going to be looking at it, you know, with the roofs at the top. And again, I feel like Baptist fan, or this one, this Mini City of Fountains, is a directional pantograph, meaning I want the pantograph to be oriented to the same as the quilt top. So I like, not that you can't use these pantographs on you know, a quilt that has the same block repeated over the whole quilt. You know, you could. A quilt top that's not directional, I want to say. But especially when I have a quilt that is directional, is when I like to use these directional type of pantographs, a Baptist fan or the Mini City of Fountains. You'll have to go look at Julie Hurt's, because this one is just the rainbow, but I know she's got some that have a heart in here, or a star in here, or different things, and they're really cute. I saw one recently that had the star that was on a patriotic quilt that was really fun. That was in my Quilt Circle membership too, so that one was a really neat one. But I like this pantograph a lot, so when I get a chance to use it, I really enjoy it. Stitches out very easily. It nests together well. I just have not had any problems with this pantograph at all. The thread color is a cream color. These fabrics are a little more muted, not the brights like we just saw on the Riley Blake quilt. a little more muted, so the cream goes better with these, where a white would have been too stark. Again, I repeat that all the time, but I just want to kind of explain my thinking with each quilt top. This one is bright, meaning it's a playful, fun quilt, so I didn't want to go gray. Gray was going to be too dark, too dimming, but the cream is a nice one for this one. Plus, the backing fabric is a little more of a cream base to it, and so the cream color looks really well. All right, I have one more to share today. And Sandy's quilt today. This is Simple 9 Patch. That's what Sandy wrote down is the name of the quilt pattern. Super easy. You don't, again, quilting doesn't have to be hard. She's got a 9 patch, black and white. So she is alternating. You see this this 9 patch has 5 black and then 4 of a low volume or a white with black print on it. The next one next to it, she switched that, so now we have 5 of the low volume, and we've put 4 of the black prints as the 4 part, and then we're switching that. There is sashing in between each block, just a solid white sashing, but then our cornerstones are black. She has used the same black cornerstone for all of them. It is like a chicken wire fence print for that. And then you can see around, let me pull this in because maybe you can't see. The border print is a black and white sunflower, black background with the white sunflowers. So the whole theme, black and white, just done in 9 patches with sashing and cornerstones. So pretty. Simple and pretty. So she's got a lot of music prints, a lot of, I mean, just everything. Any black and white print, you know, you go pick out all the black and white prints you can find and put it in this. Or choose a colorway, red and white, blue and white, you know, whatever, green and white, whatever you like. So then she says the fabric line's a lot of Michael Miller. She said she didn't remember the fabric line. Also used some scrap material, so a little bit of everything. Then the backing fabric. This is a black print, and I will find the name of this one. I don't have it off the top of my head, but this is a black print with just little gray polka dots on it. And I know that this comes in a lot of different colorways. I just don't remember the name off the top of my head, so I will link that down below once I find it. A nice contrast to the front. So the pantograph for this one, she gave me a couple different choices, and Soho was one of the choices, and I really liked Soho in that everything on the quilt top is very blocky, very square, 9 patch, you know, cornerstones. It's a really square. But on the border, we do have those sunflowers that's more of a circle. So I liked the Soho, and then it added a little bit of contrast with the circle shape as compared to all of the square prints that we had. So I like that. I did use a gray thread on this one. So this is the one where she said this was for an adult daughter. She did not want hearts or flowers, so she gave me some other choices. Again, I love when you tell me not just what you like, but what you don't like, and that helps so much. So I didn't want to go floral on this one, but with the Soho, it adds that circular feel without doing something floral or something like that. So I did use a gray thread, and the reason I did a gray thread was because the backing fabric was this very dark black. I know the front has whites on it, but if I used a white thread on the top, then that white thread on the back was really going to overpower that backing fabric, and I didn't want that. I felt like a gray thread was going to blend in better on the back and not be too dark on the whites. It's a very light gray, but that was better than putting that stark white on the black. I just felt it was going to be too strong. So that's my reasoning in going with the gray. The gray is in the, you know, a black color scheme, I want to say. Does it dim the quilt? I think these white fabrics are so bright that the gray really doesn't dim the quilt at all. You do notice it on the white, but then on the backing, I just think it was a better choice for the back. And so yes, you see it on the back, but it almost adds just more texture on the back and not the bright white thread. You're just going to notice that white thread on the back if I did it that way. So I just felt like this is one you just audition, and you can audition in your basting stitches. You know, you can try gray on the top basting stitch, and as you're basting down the side, try a white, and then kind of look at the back and see what you like. I do that a lot, just auditioning some different threads in the basting so that I can kind of get a feel of what the thread's going to look like and change up if I need to. So this one measured 67 by 77. Just a really nice quilt. So you can make something simple like this. This could be done scrappy. Again, if you chose a border that like the Riley Blake challenge one that I talked about, if you pick a border print that has several colors in it that you like, and then pull your fabrics for your 9 patches from that border print. So if it has you know, blues and reds and I don't know, a yellow in it, kind of similar to that one, then you can pick your fabrics for your center here that match that outside, and then it'll all coordinate really well together. That would be even cute if you then used that same floral print that you used in the borders as your cornerstones. That would be really cute too. So lots of options, lots of things that you can do to make your own quilts. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Use your stash. Do a 9 patch. Pick a, you know, 9 patch isn't hard. You pick just the same size squares and put them together, and you can have a beautiful quilt just like Sandy's. All right, that's all the quilts for today. I'm so glad you've joined me and stayed here all the way through it, because that was a lot of quilts today. So if you are in need of long arm quilting services, I hope you'll be in contact with me. My information is down below. You can download the prep instructions, give you all the information how to get your quilt to me, how to prepare it for shipping, as well as preparing it for quilting. And then it also has an order form where you can tell me the pantographs you like. If you're looking for the pantographs, I know I get this question quite a bit. You can go to my website, and across the top there are different tabs, and one tab says E to E, meaning edge to edge pantographs, and you can go in there and it just shows black and white prints of pictures of each one of the pantographs. That's not all I have. I'm constantly buying more, like you've seen several new ones today, and I don't always get those on the website right away. But if you kind of tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, and that's all information that you can put on the order form that you send in with your quilt top. So I hope you'll like my channel. That tells YouTube that you really like what you're seeing, and helps me out to push this video out to more quilters just like you, others that are wanting some ideas for pantographs and seeing all these lovely quilts each week. So hope you'll join me back here next week, because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you then.